This video is brought to you by Epidemic Sounds. More on them a bit later. So Canon has introduced a few budget cameras this year, two of which are the popular Canon EOS R50 and the Powershot V10. And I'm really curious to do a side-by-side comparison of these two, a budget camera battle, if you will. So yeah, let's not waste any time and begin. So the Canon R50 can record 4K up to 30 frames per second on its 24 megapixel APS-C sensor. The Canon V10 matches that 4K 30 FPS limit. However, it is only a 20 megapixel 1-inch sensor. So that's a bit of a downgrade. I feel like that quality difference is fairly noticeable when put side by side, but I do still think the V10 holds its own. Now, on the topic of image quality, the R50 shoots 8-bit color with the classic Canon picture profiles like standard, neutral, and faithful. However, the Powershot V10 woke up and chose violence. It still records in 8-bit color, but went off on a spiritual journey with its picture profiles. For some reason, instead of those Canon classics, we now have story orange and teal, retro green, tasty cool, and just a plethora of other awful options. Unfortunately, they just don't look good in my opinion, so I really hope that Canon adds their classic picture profiles in a firmware update. So now let's jump over to autofocus performance. The Canon R50 has... I'm sorry, what are you doing? No, please put that...
This video is brought to you by Epidemic Sounds. Now, I've actually been using Epidemic Sounds personally for about 5 years, so when they reached out about wanting to sponsor me, I said yes. The thing that I love most about Epidemic Sounds is their massive song library. They have over 40,000 professionally produced songs, and they're adding more constantly. Also, they sound really good. I'm always confident in my ability to go onto Epidemic Sound and find a song for whatever it is I'm making. Back when I worked on the Armando Ferreira Mondobytes channel, I used Epidemic Sounds there too, and I would produce these cinematic edits. They're actually pretty cool, definitely go check them out. But I would do these cinematic soundtracks to some of his more highly produced videos, and I think they turned out great. Of course, they don't only offer music, they have a ton of sound effects. I think over 90,000 different sound effects that you can use in your videos, and they're a super helpful tool when you're wanting to spice up the audio bed of your video. If you're an established or aspiring creator and you haven't tried Epidemic Sounds, I highly recommend that you do. If you use my link down below in the description, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial, and it is totally free. If you use any music or sound effects during that 30-day trial for your YouTube or online content, it is covered, even if you don't renew your subscription after the 30 days run out. So really, there's no reason not to try out Epidemic Sounds. But anyways, now back to our regularly scheduled program.
Anyways, the Canon R50 is using dual pixel autofocus powered by that Digic X processor, and it is quite reliable. So the Canon V10 is also packing that Digic X processor, but for some reason it opted for contrast-based autofocus, which is notably not as good. However, in my testing, I have found the Canon V10 autofocus to be decently fine for most situations. So the Canon V10 chose this 19mm f2.8 lens, which is honestly perfect for vlogging, and I'm pretty glad they chose this design. The R50, on the other hand, has this massive R mount on the front of it, which means that you can attach various different lenses to the camera. Of course, a great place to start is with the kit lens that you can buy with the Canon R50. However, you can attach more professional lenses to this guy, meaning that the R50 can grow with you as you start to acquire better lenses. Although other lenses are definitely an additional expense. For instance, this one's over $1,000. I'm not sure you would pair this lens with the R50, but even the kit lens, unfortunately, isn't wide enough, even at 18mm on that APS-C sensor, for vlogging. I mean, you can kind of get away with it, but it really should be like a 16mm. So honestly, I'm gonna have to give a point to that 19mm equivalent lens on the V10. Now let's talk stabilization. If your footage is shakier than a drunk man in an earthquake, then what's the point? Both of these cameras lack IBIS, or internal body image stabilization, but they try to make up for it in various ways. The V10 has digital stabilization capabilities, which help, but when you turn it on, it zooms into the image, and then if you turn it on enhance, it zooms in again, which isn't great. Now, of course, the R50 also has digital stab, but because you can attach a lens, it can take advantage of optical stabilization. And I actually prefer lens stabilization to IBIS because it does appear to be less jello-y. So photography, both cameras are capable of shooting photos.
Wow.
And that really surprised me when it came to the V10. I mean, Look at this thing, it doesn't exactly scream photographer. However, it is only capable of shooting JPEG photos, which is a downer. The R50, on the other hand, is much more capable when it comes to photography because it is actually able to take raw photos. Honestly, there's really no comparison for photography between these two cameras. If you're gonna shoot photos, definitely get the R50 over the V10. The V10 is just not a photographer's camera.
This is the way.
This is the way.
So how can the Canon V10 get away with such lackluster performance? Well, really, I feel like it comes down to just being different. It has this cute little flip camera-esque design. Of course, you do have this nifty little kickstand that drops down from the bottom of the camera, and generally, I just find it to be more fun to use. On the other hand, I find the Canon R50 to be a great beginner camera to enter you into the photo video space. It is a wonderful camera to learn your basic fundamentals on. So the Canon R50 or the Powershot V10. Honestly, I think it's hands down the Canon R50 for being a better choice. Of course, I do think that the V10 is great, especially if you want to goof off and just have some fun. But really, when it comes down to it, this thing is almost a toy. I mean, it is practically for kids, whereas this is actually a great way to start learning your basic camera fundamentals. You have your dials, you have manual controls, so you can control your shutter speed and your aperture, and you can learn about white balance. And the V10 is just not for that. What do you guys think? Do you like the goofy ease of use of the Canon V10, or do you prefer the upgradability of the R50? Let me know down below. Hey, if you all enjoyed this video, I think you're gonna like this one. My name is Connor. I hope that you all have a fantastic week, and I will see you all in the next one. Take it easy, guys.